The planet Zifara glimmered under 3 suns, its cities floating gracefully above crystal blue lakes. Towering structures of silver and violet spiraled into the sky, shimmering like living jewels. On this world, intelligence, beauty, and strategy were highly valued. It was ruled by the wise and respected Queen Leora, whose very presence commanded attention. Every decision she made was calculated, every word she spoke carried weight. She was a symbol of her people's brilliance, and few dared question her judgments. Yet despite her perfect life of power and influence, Leora felt something missing. The Council of Zilari had long suggested that she marry a powerful alien noble to strengthen alliances, but her heart rejected the idea. She wanted someone different, someone unique, someone who could challenge her mind and stir her soul. Her chance came unexpectedly when she attended a diplomatic mission to Earth. Humans were curious, resourceful, and utterly unpredictable. Among them, she noticed Ethan, a human who was seemingly ordinary in every way. He was tall, lean, and wore simple clothes, blending into the busy streets of Earth. Yet when he smiled, there was a warmth in his eyes that hinted at a strength far beyond physicality. Their first conversation was unremarkable to most, but for Leora it sparked something unusual. Ethan spoke with clarity and curiosity. He asked questions, but he also listened, absorbing knowledge without arrogance. He laughed at her jokes, not with politeness, but with genuine amusement. To Leora, this human was a rare gem in a universe filled with glittering but shallow stones. The decision to propose came quickly. Leora's advisors gasped when she announced her intentions. "Your Majesty, he is human, ordinary. How can this benefit the Zilari people?" one counselor asked, his tone thick with disbelief. "I do not marry for benefit," Leora replied calmly. "I marry for connection. I marry for understanding. He is extraordinary in ways you cannot yet see." Ethan, unaware of the storm his engagement would cause, accepted the proposal with modesty. To him, marriage to a queen was a dream he could hardly comprehend. Yet he respected her choice and felt a quiet responsibility to rise to the occasion. Soon, Ethan traveled with Leora to Zifara, leaving Earth behind. The journey was long, through vast stretches of space filled with nebulae and asteroid belts. Ethan marveled at the wonders of the galaxy, but he also observed closely. He noticed the subtle hierarchy, the way the Zilari communicated silently through glances, the efficiency of their technology, and the discipline in every aspect of their lives. Adapting to Zifara was challenging. The environment alone was unlike anything on Earth. Gravity was slightly heavier, the air had traces of strange minerals, and the colors of the sky shifted with the 3 suns in ways that could be disorienting. The Zilari spoke in their melodic language, a mixture of clicks, hums, and words that seemed almost musical. Ethan struggled at first, but he was determined to learn. Within weeks he could communicate clearly, blending his own earthly expressions with Zilari patterns in ways that drew admiration from the court. Leora watched him closely. She noticed small things, the way he could quickly assess a problem, how he anticipated the movement of others in conversation, and how his ideas were often unconventional yet effective. He seemed ordinary to most eyes, but she recognized the sparks of brilliance beneath his calm exterior. The court, however, remained skeptical. Some whispered behind his back, questioning how a human could share life with their queen. Others openly doubted his abilities. Yet Ethan faced these challenges with quiet confidence, never boasting, never shrinking away. He learned Zilari customs, practiced their etiquette, and even began to show interest in their strategic games, which were designed to test intelligence, foresight, and creativity. Surprisingly, he excelled. One evening, during a demonstration of the Zilari combat simulations, Ethan moved with a precision that startled the instructors. His movements were fluid, economical, and perfectly timed. He did not just react, he anticipated. The simulation was designed to challenge even elite warriors, but Ethan completed the sequence flawlessly. Leora observed from her throne a mixture of pride and awe in her eyes. "You are unlike any human I have ever known," she whispered to him later in private. Ethan smiled modestly. "I am just trying to understand," he said. "There is so much I do not know yet, but I want to learn. I want to be worthy of this world, and of you." For Leora, his words were as valuable as any display of strength. He did not seek power or recognition. He sought understanding, connection, and growth. It was a rare quality, one that the Zalari sometimes lacked in their pursuit of perfection. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan continued to prove himself not only capable, but also innovative. He suggested small improvements in technology management, ways to optimize the flow of energy in the city, and strategies for interstellar travel that drew curiosity even from the senior scientists. His ideas were grounded in human practicality, but enhanced by an intuitive grasp of complex systems. Yet Ethan did not reveal his full potential. Beneath his calm demeanor lay skills honed through years of training on Earth, martial arts, survival tactics, and problem-solving under extreme pressure. He had learned to adapt, to improvise, and to stay calm when chaos erupted. The Zalari could not know the depth of his abilities, and he preferred to observe, to learn, and to prepare. One morning, Leora introduced Ethan to the royal gardens, a floating paradise of flowering plants, shimmering pools, and delicate creatures that seemed to glow with their own light. The garden was designed for meditation and reflection, a place where the queen often sought clarity. "This is my sanctuary," Leora said, her voice soft. "It is a place where I think, plan, and sometimes dream." Ethan knelt beside one of the pools, gazing at the reflections of the three suns. "It is beautiful," he said. "It reminds me that the universe is full of possibilities, more than we can imagine. And yet, it also reminds me that understanding comes not from observation alone, but from action, from participation." Leora studied him, her heart swelling. Here was someone who could see the universe not just with his eyes, but with his mind and his heart. Here was someone who could grow with her, challenge her, and perhaps one day protect her world in ways she could not. Despite her growing admiration, Leora felt a tension she could not ignore. She was a queen and he was human. The court would not easily accept him, and enemies, both known and hidden, might see him as a weakness. She also did not yet know the extent of his true strength, though small signs hinted at it. That evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon, casting a tricolored glow across the city, Leora stood on the balcony of her palace, Ethan by her side. She looked out at her people, at the vastness of space stretching beyond, and wondered about the future. "You are not ordinary, Ethan," she said quietly, "and I suspect the universe itself has plans for you that even I cannot foresee." Ethan turned to her, his eyes reflecting the shimmering skies. "I may be human, Leora, but I have learned one thing. Strength is not always what it seems. And sometimes the smallest spark can light the darkest night." Leora smiled, feeling both reassurance and curiosity. She knew that she had chosen wisely, but she also knew that their journey together was only beginning. The stars beyond Zifra held challenges, mysteries, and threats, but with Ethan by her side, she felt a sense of confidence she had never known. Unknown to them both, distant eyes watched the palace from the shadows of space. A threat was moving through the galaxy, one that would test not only Leora's wisdom but also Ethan's hidden strength. The human who appeared ordinary to the universe was about to reveal capabilities that could change the fate of entire worlds. For now, though, there was peace. The palace was filled with laughter, quiet conversations, and the gentle glow of floating lanterns. Ethan adjusted to life among the Zalari, learning, observing, and preparing. Leora watched him with admiration, knowing that the journey ahead would be extraordinary. Not just because of him, but because together, they would face the universe as partners, equals, and perhaps the most unexpected heroes of all. And so, on a planet where brilliance and strategy defined worth, the Queen had chosen a human, not for power, not for lineage, but for the quiet, extraordinary potential she could sense in him. Little did she know, the ordinary man she married was about to prove that humanity itself was capable of greatness beyond imagination. The Palace of Zifra was a marvel of design and technology. Its walls shimmered like liquid silver, and the floors seemed to float beneath one's feet. Light refracted through crystalline windows, painting the halls in soft colors that shifted with the movement of the three suns. For a human like Ethan, even walking through these halls felt like stepping into a dream. He had been on Zifara for a few weeks now, and each day brought new lessons. The Zalari people were highly intelligent and disciplined. Every action they took had purpose, every word was carefully chosen. At first, it was overwhelming for Ethan. Simple customs like bowing at the right moment or speaking in the correct tone required concentration. But he was patient. He practiced diligently, and soon what seemed impossible became second nature. Leora watched him with quiet pride. She had expected the adjustment to be difficult, but Ethan handled it with a grace and curiosity that impressed even her. More importantly, he asked questions, not just about customs, but about strategy, science, and history. His mind absorbed knowledge quickly, but he also offered observations that were fresh, unique, and sometimes startlingly clever. One morning, the Queen invited him to observe a meeting of the Zalari Council. The council was composed of advisors, generals, and scholars, each highly respected. They discussed matters of governance, technology, and interstellar relations. Ethan listened, quietly analyzing as debates unfolded. "The Crithian fleet is near Zephyra's border," a general announced. "They have been scouting systems close to ours. Their intentions are unknown, but their presence is concerning," the council murmured. Some advocated a show of strength. Others suggested diplomatic messages. Ethan raised his hand hesitantly. "May I speak?" he asked, all eyes turned toward him. The Zalari were polite but skeptical of a human offering advice on matters of war. Ethan nodded and began carefully. "I have observed your defenses and patterns of patrols. If the Crithians are scouting, they will expect standard tactics. They may assume you will act predictably. Perhaps a small, unconventional strategy could allow you to understand their intentions without direct confrontation." The council exchanged surprised glances. One of the generals, a tall Zalari named Korath, leaned forward. "Unconventional? Explain." Ethan smiled faintly. "Instead of sending a large fleet or relying on expected patterns, a smaller team could subtly observe, create decoys, or even use technology to monitor them. Humans have learned to adapt in situations where the opponent cannot anticipate every move. Perhaps Zephyra could benefit from similar thinking." The Queen's eyes shone with admiration. "Interesting. Your perspective is unusual, but I see merit in it." The council, still unsure, agreed to experiment with Ethan's idea. It was the first time a human had advised them on defense strategy. It would not be the last. Days passed, and Ethan's reputation grew quietly. He explored the palace, the floating gardens, and even the city itself, learning more about the Zalari people and their technologies. He marveled at the gravity manipulators, which allowed ships to float without engines, and at the energy crystals, which powered entire cities silently and efficiently. Yet despite the wonders around him, Ethan never forgot the humans he had left behind on Earth. He often thought about their ingenuity, their ability to improvise, and their resilience. He realized that these qualities, born from human struggle and creativity, were something the Zalari had not fully understood. The galaxy was filled with beings who were strong and intelligent, but the unpredictability of humanity was a kind of strength in itself, a strength he intended to use wisely. One evening, Leora invited Ethan to a private lesson in the art of Zalari strategy. The room was filled with holographic models of planets, fleets, and energy networks. It was a simulation designed to test the tactical abilities of Zalari leaders. "Many have failed here," Leora said, her tone serious. "The strategy room requires imagination as well as logic. Can a human succeed?" Ethan glanced at the floating models and nodded. "I can try." He approached the holograms, analyzing every variable. He noticed patterns the Zalari missed, small details in fleet movements, energy distributions, and planetary geography. Slowly, he began moving ships in unexpected ways, predicting enemy reactions before they happened. The simulation was complex, designed to challenge even the best Zalari generals. Yet Ethan navigated it with calm precision. His movements were not rushed. Each choice was deliberate, balanced with intuition and creativity. Leora watched in amazement. "You are remarkable," she whispered. "Even I did not anticipate some of these moves." Ethan smiled modestly. "I am learning from the best, and I am trying to see what others might miss." Word of his skill spread through the palace. Whispers turned into cautious admiration. Some counselors remained skeptical, but others began to wonder if humans truly held a unique potential. Not everything was calm, however. In the shadows of space, the Crithians continued their approach. Unlike the Zalari, they relied on brute force and intimidation. They had heard of Zephyra's intelligence and strategic power, yet they underestimated the role of humans. Ethan noticed unusual signals while exploring the communication hub. Tiny anomalies in the Crithian fleet movement suggested that they were testing Zifara's response, probing weaknesses. He shared his observations with Leora. "They are expecting us to respond predictably," he explained. "If we change our approach, we may learn more about their intentions without risking full-scale conflict." The Queen nodded, impressed by his foresight. "Your mind works in ways our own sometimes cannot. You are teaching me as much as I teach you." Their days together became a balance of learning, exploration, and quiet moments of companionship. Leora admired Ethan not just for his intelligence but for his humility. He did not flaunt his abilities. He did not seek attention or power. Instead, he observed, adapted, and quietly excelled. One afternoon, Ethan accompanied Leora to the floating gardens, where delicate flowers glowed under the suns. Tiny creatures with translucent wings fluttered around them, and soft streams of water reflected the shimmering light. "This is where I often think about the future," Leora said, her voice calm. "And now I find myself thinking about you." Ethan turned to her. "I am honored, Leora. Every day here teaches me more, not just about your people, but about myself. I feel stronger in a way I never expected, but it is not strength of muscle. It is the strength to understand, to adapt, and to protect." Leora's heart swelled. She had chosen a human for reasons she could not fully explain, and every day she realized her choice was right. But she also felt the weight of the future. The Crithians were coming, and the galaxy would test them both in ways they could not yet imagine. That night, as the three suns dipped below the horizon, Ethan stood on the balcony beside Leora. Stars twinkled above, distant worlds stretching into infinity. He did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing. His human adaptability, ingenuity, and courage would guide him, and perhaps, he thought being human was not a weakness, it was his greatest advantage. In the heart of Zifara, the Queen and her human companion began to prepare for challenges beyond diplomacy and protocol. They would face threats that no Zalari alone could overcome. But together they could forge strategies, innovations, and defenses that no alien race had anticipated. Unknown to them, the Crithians had begun observing more closely. A fleet of sleek dark ships moved silently through space, cloaked from standard detection. Their leaders mocked the humans as weak, simple, and unpredictable. But it was precisely the unpredictability that would soon challenge everything they knew. For now, though Ethan continued his life among the stars, learning, adapting, and quietly revealing his extraordinary potential in ways subtle enough to surprise even the wisest of the Zalari. He was human, ordinary in appearance, but extraordinary in capability. And Zifara, as majestic as it was, would soon see that the human strength was unlike any the galaxy had ever known. The quiet of Zifara's cities was shattered one morning by an alert that sent shivers through the palace. The Crithian fleet had crossed the outer boundary of the system. Sleek black ships moved with menacing precision, their presence a clear warning. The Zalari were being challenged. Queen Leora stood at the central observation deck, her violet eyes fixed on the stars. Beside her, Ethan watched the incoming fleet. To most observers, he seemed calm, almost casual, but inside his mind raced. Every detail, the angles of approach, the speed of the ships, the likely points of attack, was being calculated in milliseconds. Korath, the general, looked uneasy. "Your Majesty, the Crithians are formidable. They will overwhelm us if we respond conventionally." "They do not expect the unexpected," Ethan said quietly, his voice steady. Leora turned to him, her eyes widening. "You mean, you have a plan?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "I have observed their patterns. They anticipate standard defenses. If we react as expected, we play into their hands. But if we adjust using mobility, decoys, and unconventional tactics, we can gain an advantage." The council hesitated. The idea of a human advising on battle strategy still felt strange, yet there was a spark of hope in his words. Leora, trusting her instincts, gave the order. "We follow his plan. Prepare the fleet." The ships of Zifara began to move, their energy crystals glowing with power. Humans and Zalari worked side by side, Ethan quietly giving directions while the generals adjusted formations. His instructions were precise, his timing flawless. The first engagement with the Crithians was about to begin. As the enemy fleet entered Zifara's outer orbit, small, agile ships darted in patterns that confused the Crithians. Ethan had divided the defense into 3 sections: decoys to distract, scouts to observe, and the main fleet positioned to strike strategically. The Crythians, used to direct assaults, found themselves caught off guard. One of the decoy ships maneuvered so precisely that it appeared as a larger fleet. Crythian sensors registered false signals, causing them to reposition their own forces incorrectly. Meanwhile, scouts fed critical data back to Zafara's command center. Ethan moved through the command deck like a conductor, directing each element with calm authority. He anticipated enemy maneuvers, corrected minor errors instantly, and offered guidance that combined human intuition with technical knowledge. The council watched in disbelief. Korath approached Ethan, voice low. "You predict their moves? Almost as if you know them before they act." Ethan's eyes remained on the holographic battlefield. "It is not knowing, General. It is observing patterns, predicting likely reactions, and being ready for the unexpected. The Crythians are strong, but they are predictable in some ways." Suddenly, a Crythian attack struck the outer defenses. Energy beams scorched the surface of a floating platform. Alarm sirens blared. Zalari warriors scrambled to respond, but Ethan had already anticipated the strike. "Redirect the shields to the left sector," he ordered. "Then deploy countermeasures from the upper grid. Timing is crucial." The shields shimmered, energy bending and flowing exactly as he predicted. The beams hit the shields and dispersed harmlessly. The countermeasures launched, disabling a portion of the attacking fleet. Leora's heart pounded. She had expected skill, but what she saw was beyond what she could imagine for a human. The Crythians adjusted quickly, sending a strike team to disable Zafara's communication hub. Ethan anticipated this as well. He had stationed a small team of Zalari warriors in a concealed orbit, ready to intercept. With a series of coordinated moves, the strike team was trapped in an energy net, their attack thwarted before it could begin. The palace erupted with cautious admiration. "This human, he is extraordinary," whispered one counselor. Another nodded in agreement, still staring at the displays in disbelief. Ethan's eyes were calm, his mind focused. He moved through the command deck, directing reinforcements, analyzing weak points, and giving orders with precision. It was not brute strength that gave him power. It was strategy, foresight, and adaptability. Yet even these skills were only part of what he could do. At one point, a Crythian ship broke through the outer defenses, heading straight for the palace. Without hesitation, Ethan took action. He activated a series of energy channels in the city's defense grid, creating a temporary barrier that absorbed the impact of the ship. Then, using precise control, he redirected the energy to push the vessel back into space, incapacitating it without destroying it entirely. Leora's hands clenched at her sides. "Ethan, how are you doing this?" He did not smile. "Focus and observation. Understanding the system and predicting what comes next." Her admiration deepened. She realized that while humans may appear fragile, their minds held immense power. In Ethan's case, it was combined with physical skill and adaptability, abilities that even the strongest Zalari could not match fully. Hours passed, and the Crythian attack continued, but Ethan's leadership made the difference. He coordinated defenses, anticipated strikes, and used tactics that no one on Zafara had ever seen before. The Crythians, despite their experience and technology, began to falter. Korath, usually composed and unflappable, finally said aloud what everyone was thinking. "This human is saving us." Ethan shook his head slightly. "Not saving, leading. You all are capable. I am only guiding where others cannot see clearly." The Queen watched him, her heart filled with pride and awe. The human she had married, so ordinary in appearance, was showing a depth of skill and power that defied every expectation. He moved through the battlefield like a shadow, calm and precise, yet devastatingly effective. By nightfall, the first engagement ended. The Crythians, surprised and frustrated, retreated temporarily. Zafara had suffered minimal damage and the palace remained secure. The Zalari celebrated cautiously, their respect for Ethan growing by the hour. Leora approached him privately as the stars shimmered above the city. "I underestimated you," she said softly. Ethan smiled faintly, a hint of humility in his eyes. "You did not underestimate me. You simply had no way of knowing. My abilities are human, but human ingenuity is often underestimated." The Queen nodded. She understood now that strength was not always physical, and power did not always come from sheer force. Ethan's intelligence, creativity, and adaptability were weapons in themselves. Over the next few days, Ethan continued to integrate himself into the defense system of Zifara. He trained with Zalari warriors, studied alien technology, and refined strategies to counter future attacks. Each day he revealed a little more of his potential, always careful not to overwhelm or frighten. Even the Council began to see humans differently. Where they had once seen frailty, they now saw potential. Where they had doubted, they now respected. The HFY, Humans Are Awesome theme was quietly unfolding. Here was a human, ordinary in appearance, showing brilliance that could rival the greatest alien minds. Leora, observing him, realized that her marriage had been more than a personal choice. It was a symbol, a bridge between species and a testament to human potential. If humans could rise to this challenge, who knew what else they could accomplish across the galaxy? And while the Crithians had retreated, Ethan knew it was only the beginning. He had revealed a glimpse of his strength, enough to protect Zifara for now, but greater challenges loomed. Still, he was ready. Humans were not merely survivors, they were adaptable, creative, and capable of astonishing feats when tested. As night fell on the floating city, the three suns disappearing behind the horizon, Ethan and Leora stood together gazing at the stars. The Crithians were out there waiting, but Zifara was stronger now. Not because of raw power alone, but because of strategy, courage, and the unexpected brilliance of a human mind. And soon, the universe would see that humanity was far more than ordinary. The palace of Zifara buzzed with activity. After the recent Crithian attack, the city was on high alert. Zalari warriors trained tirelessly, fleets adjusted positions, and scientists worked to enhance energy shields. The council convened constantly, seeking strategies to secure their world. But amid all this, one figure remained calm: Ethan. For days he had quietly observed, analyzed, and refined the city's defenses. Now the time had come to reveal the depth of his abilities, not merely his intelligence, but a combination of strength, skill, and insight that even the Zalari had never seen before. Leora summoned him to the central chamber where the council gathered. The holographic display of the galaxy shimmered above them, showing Zifara at its heart. The council members murmured in curiosity. They had seen Ethan's strategic brilliance, but they had not yet witnessed the full extent of his capabilities. "Ethan," Leora said, her voice steady, "the Crithians will return soon. We must be prepared. I trust you know what to do," he nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. But there is something you should see, something that may change how we approach this." The council leaned forward. Ethan took a deep breath. "I am human, but I am not ordinary. I have trained my body and mind for years. I can move with speed and precision, adapt instantly to any situation, and interface with technology in ways you might not expect. My abilities are designed to be unpredictable, creative, and effective." A murmur ran through the council. Some skeptics raised eyebrows. "Explain," said Korath, his tone cautious but intrigued. Ethan activated a demonstration hologram of the palace and surrounding city. "I will show you, not just tell you. First, observe the energy flow in our shields." He reached out, touching the console. Instantly, the holographic energy lines shifted, moving with a precision and efficiency that none of these Zalari engineers had predicted. Shields were reinforced exactly where weaknesses had existed, without disrupting other systems. "Human intuition," Ethan explained, "allows me to see patterns others might miss. I can adjust systems in real time, reacting faster than conventional protocols allow." Leora's eyes widened. "That is remarkable. But there is more, isn't there?" Ethan nodded. "Yes." He moved to a training area nearby, inviting a group of Zalari warriors to join. The room was vast, filled with holographic targets and simulation obstacles. He demonstrated movements that were almost impossibly fast and precise. Each strike, block, and maneuver was calculated perfectly, flowing like water but striking with exact force. The warriors watched, mouths open. "How is this possible?" one whispered. Ethan smiled. "It is not magic. It is training, discipline, and understanding of the body's mechanics. Every movement is efficient. Every action has purpose. Humans may appear fragile, but the mind and body can achieve extraordinary synchronization." Korath stepped closer, skeptical but impressed. "And yet this is only physical?" Ethan shook his head. "There is more." He touched the central energy console. His mind linked briefly with the system, Not just controlling it, but predicting how it would respond under various scenarios. The room lit with energy patterns flowing like rivers. He adjusted each line in milliseconds, strengthening defenses and redirecting power to vulnerable points. The council gasped. "He can interface with technology," Leora whispered, "and control it instinctively." "Yes," Ethan said. "I can predict and influence systems in ways that make our defenses far more effective. But this is just one aspect. Strategy, combat, technology, they all combine. And when we face the Crethians again, all these skills will be necessary." Leora's admiration deepened. "You are not just a human," she said. "You are a force we have never imagined." Ethan lowered his hands. "I am human, and humanity's strength lies not just in individual skill, but in creativity, adaptability, and courage. That is why I have trained. That is why I have prepared." The council was silent for a moment, absorbing the truth. Humans had been underestimated across the galaxy, dismissed as fragile and predictable, but Ethan was proof that human potential could rival, perhaps surpass, the abilities of even the most advanced alien species. Korath, usually stern, finally nodded. "We have underestimated humans. We were wrong." Ethan turned to him, calm and confident. "Not wrong, just unaware. The Crethians believe humans are weak. That is their mistake." The Queen placed her hand lightly on Ethan's arm. "Then it is time to show them." That night the stars above Zephyra seemed unusually bright, as though anticipating the coming storm. Ethan moved through the city, checking defenses and communicating with every unit. Solari soldiers, engineers, and pilots followed his instructions with precision, adapting to his unconventional strategies. He emphasized creativity over rigidity, improvisation over routine. Soon reports arrived. The Crethians were approaching faster than expected. Their fleet was larger, more organized, and more aggressive than before. This would be Zephyra's greatest challenge yet. Ethan remained calm. "Do not panic," he told the council. "They expect us to defend predictably. We will not. Follow my lead, and we will turn their strength into weakness." The battle began at dawn. Crethian ships emerged from the shadows of space, sleek and menacing. Energy beams lit the sky, striking at outer defenses. For a moment, even seasoned Zalari warriors felt fear, but Ethan's presence steadied them. He coordinated Zephyra's response, moving between holographic displays, energy grids, and communication channels. His mind worked like a supercomputer, calculating positions, predicting enemy movements, and adjusting defenses in real time. At one point, a Crethian strike squad broke through the outer shields, aiming directly at the central palace. Without hesitation, Ethan moved. Using his enhanced reflexes and precise understanding of energy systems, he created a temporary barrier that redirected the attack. He then used controlled energy pulses to incapacitate the enemy squad without harming the palace. Leora watched from her observation deck, awe and admiration mixing in her gaze. The human she had married, so ordinary in appearance, was saving her city and teaching her people a lesson about the hidden strength of humanity. Ethan's abilities went beyond combat. He anticipated supply chain problems, energy fluctuations, and potential weak points across the city. He adapted Zephyra's defenses dynamically, making the Crethians' attacks increasingly ineffective. Hours passed, and the Crethians began to falter. Their formations broke, and their strategy unraveled under the combined ingenuity of Zalari skill and human creativity. The council, once skeptical, now followed Ethan's guidance without hesitation. Finally, the Crethians retreated, their fleet battered and demoralized. Zephyra had won not through sheer force but through intelligence, adaptability, and the unexpected brilliance of a human mind. The city erupted in celebration, though Ethan remained calm. He knew this was only the beginning. Greater threats would come, and the galaxy would continue to underestimate humanity at its peril. Leora approached him privately as the celebration continued around them. "Ethan," she said softly, "I see now. You are unlike any being I have ever known. Your mind, your skills, your strength. Humanity has hidden depths we did not understand." Ethan smiled gently. "It is not just me. It is what humans can become when challenged, when they are forced to adapt, and I will continue to grow. Together we can protect Zephyra and perhaps even more." The Queen's eyes glimmered. "Then the universe will learn what we already know, that humans are extraordinary." Ethan nodded. He had revealed his true strength, but he knew it was not about showing off power. It was about understanding, strategy, and using skills to protect those who could not protect themselves. As night fell on the floating city, the stars above Zifara reflected the shimmering energy of victory. But the human mind, adaptable and unpredictable, had already begun to anticipate the next challenge. Ethan was ready. He had shown the Zalari his strength. He had proven that humans were capable of brilliance beyond imagination. And soon the universe would see that the ordinary human was anything but ordinary. The calm that followed the first Crithian attack was brief. Reports arrived from the outer systems. The Crithians were regrouping, preparing a larger fleet. This time, they were not testing Zifara. They were coming to conquer. The city buzzed with preparation. Ships were readied, energy shields strengthened, and warriors drilled tirelessly. But amid the activity, Ethan moved calmly through the command center. He studied the data, noting patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities that others overlooked. To the Zalari, his presence was steadying. To the Crithians, he would soon be an unpredictable force they could not counter. Leora stood beside him. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. Ethan smiled, calm yet confident. "We are ready. They expect conventional responses. We will give them something different." The Crithian fleet appeared at the edge of Zifara's system, larger than before. Sleek dark ships stretched as far as the eye could see, energy weapons glinting menacingly. The Zalari fleet prepared to defend, but Ethan had a plan that went beyond defense. "Divide the fleet," he instructed. "Use decoys to mislead them. Position our strongest ships where they least expect, and maintain flexibility. Adapt at every moment." Korath raised an eyebrow. "You want us to fight?" Unpredictably. Ethan nodded. "Exactly. Humans thrive in unpredictability. Use it against them." The battle began at dawn. Energy beams lit the sky, striking at defensive platforms and outer fleets. The Crithians assumed their previous advantage, expecting Zifara to respond in predictable ways. But Ethan's strategy unfolded differently. Small groups of ships moved like shadows, drawing Crithian fire while larger forces struck from unexpected angles. Decoys created illusions of vulnerability, causing the enemy to make mistakes. Zifara's defenses adjusted in real time, energy shields bending and shifting exactly where needed. Ethan's control was precise. He moved among holographic displays, adjusting tactics, predicting enemy reactions, and giving orders that no Zalari had thought of before. He combined human intuition with the Zalari's advanced technology, creating strategies that were both brilliant and flexible. During the battle, a Crithian strike team attempted to disable the central energy hub. Their weapons cut through shields and approached the heart of Zifara's power. Ethan acted instantly. He activated energy barriers, rerouted power flows, and coordinated a counterattack with precision timing. The enemy squad was trapped and neutralized, unable to adapt to the unexpected tactics. The Zalari Council watched in awe. They had seen Ethan's skills before, but this was different. This was not just intelligence, it was leadership, adaptability, and power combined. Humans, they realized, could not be underestimated. In the skies above Zifara, ships moved like living creatures. Energy beams arced across the horizon, but the Zalari, guided by Ethan, maintained coordination and efficiency. Each human-inspired tactic disrupted Crithian formations. Small squads of agile fighters used creativity and improvisation to exploit weaknesses, something no alien had anticipated. At the palace, Leora watched the unfolding battle. Her heart swelled with pride. Ethan, so ordinary in appearance, was demonstrating the true potential of humanity. He was showing that courage, creativity, and adaptability could rival strength and technology, and even surpass it. Hours passed, and the tide of the battle began to turn. The Crithians were forced into retreat, their fleet fragmented and demoralized. Zifara's combination of Zalari skill and human ingenuity had created a defense they could not predict. Ethan surveyed the battlefield. "They are retreating," he said, "but we must remain vigilant. They will regroup if we let them." Korath, usually stern, nodded in agreement. "Never have I seen such a defense. You have changed how we see humans and perhaps how the galaxy will see them." The Queen approached Ethan, her eyes shining. "You have proven what I already knew, that humans are extraordinary. You have saved Zifara and shown the potential of your species." Ethan smiled gently. It is not just me, Leora. It is what humans can do when they are challenged, when they must think, adapt, and act. We are not the strongest in the galaxy in terms of sheer power, but our minds, our creativity, and our courage, these are our greatest strengths. The Zilari Council, witnessing the battle's outcome and Ethan's role, finally understood. They began to see humans not as fragile outsiders, but as a species of unexpected brilliance. Respect once hesitant became admiration, and in that admiration, a new era began, one where humans and Zilari could learn from each other, protect each other, and explore the stars together. As night fell, the three suns dipped below the horizon, casting a tricolored glow over the city. Celebrations began, but Ethan did not revel in glory. He moved through the city, ensuring the wounded were cared for, defenses were maintained, and systems were monitored. His mind, always analytical, already anticipated the next challenge. Leora followed him, watching as her human companion quietly ensured the safety of her people. "You truly are remarkable," she said. "I am human," he replied with a faint smile. "And humanity is capable of remarkable things when given the chance." The Queen nodded, understanding more than ever why she had chosen him. His strength, though hidden before, had now been revealed to the galaxy. Not through arrogance, not through dominance, but through intelligence, courage, and unwavering adaptability. The Crithians had been defeated, but the story of humanity had only begun. Word of Ethan's abilities and the success of Zephyra's defense would spread across the galaxy, challenging old assumptions about the human race. In the quiet of the palace gardens, Ethan and Leora stood side by side. Stars glittered above, distant worlds waiting to be explored. "The universe is vast," he said softly, "and there will be more challenges. But we are ready, together." Leora smiled. "With you, I believe humanity can rise to anything. You have shown that even the smallest spark, a single human, can light the darkest night." Ethan looked at her, a quiet determination in his eyes. "And together, we will light the stars." The palace glimmered under the three suns, a symbol of unity, courage, and the unexpected brilliance of humanity. Humans, once underestimated, were now seen as a force to be respected. Their ingenuity, creativity, and adaptability had changed the course of a battle, the fate of a planet, and the perspective of an entire alien civilization. The HFY story of a simple human, appearing ordinary to the universe, had reached its triumphant conclusion, and while the Crithians would return someday, they would now know one undeniable truth: never underestimate humanity. As the celebrations continued across the city, Ethan and Leora stood together, looking toward the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, mysteries, and wonders. But for the first time, humans were not just observers, they were leaders, innovators, and heroes, and thus, Zephyra entered a new era of exploration, cooperation, and understanding. Guided by a queen and her extraordinary human husband, humanity had revealed its true strength, not through force alone, but through intelligence, courage, and the remarkable ability to rise above expectations. The stars awaited, and humans were ready.